Well, if you're, sorry about the delay here. I was getting all the posts up so people know that I am live streaming again. This is part 4 of my 30-day challenge. I'm only doing 2 episodes a week. Basically, if you're new to this, the challenge is to get a full 2,000 point army for Games Workshop's Warhammer 40,000 game. 2,000 point army built, converted, based, and painted in 30 days. I chose the new Space Marines from the Shadow Spear box that just came out a few weeks ago. And I'm painting up 65 models. That's 65 miniatures, 28mm size. Let me show you the scale here. That is the scale if you're new to this. I am painting these up to a tier 2, maybe tier 3 quality, and it's kind of a loose tier system. For me, my tier 1 is putting down 3 colors, no highlights, no shading, no wet blending, no special techniques, and then maybe putting some basing material like sand or texture paint down onto the base of the model. That would be tier 1. Tier 2 would be adding in more colors, maybe the first 1 or 2 layers of highlights, and doing something with that base. Tier 3, which is what I'm really going for, is all the things from tier 1 2, and then adding in shading techniques, advanced highlighting techniques, and really spruce up the bases. So today at 5:30, I'll be doing the suppressors. Let me pull up a suppressor here. That is these bad boys. I'll probably have to adjust that camera later. But the suppressors are a pretty big model. I'll be doing those at 5:30 right now, just so I can get my mind in the right place for painting. I am finishing up my next wave of Infiltrators. This will put me at, depending on how many I get done between now and 5:30, should put me at 25, almost 30 models complete. And by the end of this week, this coming week, or by next Sunday, I should say, I should have 45, let's see, 30, should have 32 done this week. And I've already got 25 done, so it'll put me at 57 out of 65 models. Should be done by next week. This last week, last Monday to today, I'll have done a full 20 models plus whatever I get done today. So hopefully 20, 25, should have 30 done today. So let me get on with it. Right now, I've just been kind of applying my base coat. And base coating is, it's really actually, it's a simple thing. All I'm doing on the models, I'm trying to get everything squared up here, is simply just getting on that first few layers of colors, or the first color without any highlights. So right now I'm using the Monument Hobbies Golden Brown, and I'm just going over the pouches. And you'll see some spots where I have splashed over or spilled over. People have a lot of different technique or names for it. I just call it paint spilling or paint spill. I might say splash, but it's all the same thing. It's just basically me putting words to the fact that I messed up. But it's not a big thing because right now this is just the base coating area or the time, and I will be going back in before I start on highlights and going in and simply cleaning it up with the whatever paint. So like here I got some, let's see if I got it here. trying to get the camera right here. You can see, well, it's kind of hard to see, but there's this overpaint or spill onto the gray. I'm just going to go back over with the gray a little later and touch that up before I move on. So right now I've already put on the base coat, this golden brown from Monument Hobbies. And more I use this Monument Hobby paint, I am really torn between Citadel paint line, which I think is probably a superior paint line, despite the vocal minority that might complain about this or that. I really think a lot of those people that complain about the paint, a lot of them are just going along with what the crowd is saying. They haven't even given a chance themselves. There might be, well, not even might be, I would say there are definitely some people out there that have had some bad experiences with the paint. It's going to happen. I've had bad experiences with Vallejo and Citadel, but I still stick with the Citadel paints. I like the paint line. I think that they've got a great coloring, color selection, but what I wish they would do, above anything, is just make some gosh darn dropper bottles. These dropper bottles, the difference, and let me show you the difference real quick. This is the Citadel line. This is the Abaddon Black. It's got a lid, pops up. It's got a little spoon underneath that lid that you can scoop paint out on. Kind of handy dandy. I like it. I really don't have too many complaints about it. And then there's like Monument Hobbies. They've got a dropper bottle. Their dropper bottle is better than some of the other ones out there. It's got a twist cap, and you can actually just dab a little paint out, close it shut. It's got some micro beads inside of it that help keep the paint, whenever you shake it, helps agitate. So anything that might have been sticking or gumming up will get shaken up, whatever the plural of that is. So as you can see, might have to adjust that lighting because that might be just a bit bright. There you guys. Oh, that's the other side. Give me 1 second on that lighting. Might be hard to follow here. I think some people were here inside the studio and they might have bumped the lighting. So, like I said, all I'm doing is just kind of go back in, touching up this base coat before I move on. There will be some mistakes, but that's okay because I'm going to clean up. The technique, kind of what I'm showing you guys, is batch painting. Especially, this is a great technique unless you're going for like a best appearance award at a convention or a painting contest, or I don't know what else you would do for besides that, or even your local tournaments and stuff. Is not that best technique for that. This is, however, the best technique to get paint on the model fast and efficiently, and to get them on the tabletop and play. As a lot of tournaments, a lot of events are starting to move towards, even your local weekend ones are starting to move towards only painted models. It is a good idea to get your stuff painted or you're not going to be participating. Some people might be like, oh, that's not fair. Well, it is fair because the stores and the events that are hosting these are trying to get recognition, trying to get sponsorship, and draw more people in. And more people are going to be drawn into a fully painted model over a plastic gray or just a primer model. A primer, for those that don't know, it's taking basically a spray paint, painting the plastic with that color, and making it easier for the follow-on painting to adhere to the miniature. But like Warzone Houston's coming up. It's an event that myself and Alan run. It's probably right now fastest growing convention in Houston. This year we're looking at about 200 bodies. Previous year was about 110. Year before that, 55. And if we counted our Comic Palooza events, like 14, 15. So the more that we show off these fantastic painted miniatures, and the more sponsorship we get from all these corporations. Excuse me, let me try to adjust this light here. It looks a little too intense. There, I think that'll work. And if you're watching on Twitch, real quick, I'm sorry I don't have the Twitch feed up because I'm running all these different windows right now. Having the Twitch chat up and having the YouTube chat, which is what we normally stream on, up at the same time, it creates a little difficulty with the computer slowing down. So jump on over to FMP Wargamers on YouTube and you can converse with me back and forth. If anybody is on right now, it looks like there's 2 people watching. If somebody's able to type away, say, hey John, your video's loud and clear, you're looking good, I would appreciate that because I've had some difficulties with this software and I want to just make sure that you guys can hear me. So I've got about 45 minutes before we kick off the new painting, new model we're going to be painting. So I'm just going to try to kick this into high gear here, so try to keep up. Let me dial back to what I was, drift back to what I was talking about earlier with batch painting. Batch painting is essentially getting about 3 to 5, maybe even 10 miniatures all lined up, ready to go. And what you're going to do is pick one color and paint that color on that 1 or 2 parts of the model. Like currently, you'll see on these, I've already painted the black underneath, behind their kneecaps, underneath there, the little flexible area where there's not so much armor. Painted that black. You can see all these little yellow pouches. And that's basically batch painting. So I've got 5 guys lined up here. I grab one, paint the area, set them down. And I keep them all in a line. So by the time that I get done with the 5th model, I go back to the front of the line, and that model should, unless I've applied a shade or a wash, that model should be dry and ready for me to hit the next color. And it's simply just getting into the rhythm of painting. And this batch painting technique, like I'm averaging 5 guys per hour and a half. And that's not including the basing. The basing will take maybe 30 minutes per, I think I kind of calculate about 30 minutes for 20 guys. So I'm not too worried about basing right now. So I might be looking at an hour and 35 minutes, maybe 40 minutes per guy, or per 5 guys. And if you've got, like if you're going to Warzone Houston, I've had a lot of people, oh, I don't know if I want to go to the convention because I don't have enough time to paint because of school, because of work, because of kids. I get it. But you and I both know that you have a couple hours each week where you could sit down and paint. And that's where this batch painting comes into play. And you've got the rest of April, May, June, and halfway through July to have your army painted for, say, Warzone Houston, or more if you're going to Wargames Con, a little less for Alamo, GT in May, and Desert Rat in at the end of June in El Paso. So you got a little bit of wiggle room in between there, but just getting a base coat down, 3 color minimum and basing material down on your miniatures means you can go to these events, you'll have them fully painted, and you can attend these fantastic conventions and tournaments, and you might not win a prize because you just have the base coat down, but you're going to go in there, you're going to be feeling amazing because you have some painted miniatures, and you're going to see other people's painted miniatures, and you're going to be able to look at yours and go, you know what, I know what I need to do to clean it up, make yours look better. It'll be a lot of inspiration there. So take that into consideration. I'm assuming, I'm going to double check here, excuse me, like make sure that we're streaming just fine. Yeah, we're streaming just fine. Okay. Oh, ew, that camera does not look good. Give me 1 second here. See what's going on with that camera. That's bad. I don't know if it's my internet connection or what's going on there. interesting. Sorry about the bad video. I'm not sure what is happening here. Everything's plugged in. And it is, man, I am really sorry about that, guys. Well, I don't know what's going on with that camera, because it looks like the main camera is fine, but the camera from my pretty face is not doing. Oh, there we go. Maybe that should have fixed it. Might be our internet connection. Sorry about that. Hopefully, yeah, I think it's good now. So let's get that back up there. Perfect. Okay. So anyways, that's batch painting. There's something I highly recommend you do. Is the fastest way, like I said, to get paint on the model, get you up and going at events. You can only spend a few hours a week doing. You only have an hour? Fantastic. Instead of picking up that video game or watching that movie or TV show, why don't you grab your paintbrush and some paints and some models and just get base coating. Like I'm doing right here, just batch paint. Batch paint, batch paint. It's the fastest way to do things. All right, so oh, wrong color. Make sure though when you're batch painting you grab the right color. That would have been bad. So I am down to 40 minutes to before I start showing out the new stuff. I'm gonna get some paint down here on my palette. Move this water closer so I'm not covering up my face in the camera. All right. So these right now, oh crap. These are one of the conversions I've done. I put suppressors on all these barrels. They normally do not have suppressors, but I wanted these guys to look really snazzy and stealthy and cool. So right now what I'm applying is some lead belcher, yeah, to the model. Just all the metal areas that I want to get. And right now I don't care about overpaint on the gun because I'm going to be going back over the suppressor and the casing of the gun with black. So I'm not too worried about getting paint like on here. I got to be careful though, because if I get too much paint on, it could gum it up and make it look kind of bad. Or like too much paint can be build up a couple layers and it'll be like a thick coat and it won't look right. So as Duncan on Warhammer TV will say, 2 thin coats. I would try to apply 2 thin coats. So right now, all I'm doing is going in and hitting all the areas I need to get metal, this metallic color on. So these barrels, not the suppressor, all this underneath here. Like I said, I don't care if I get the little bit of overpaint. I do care, I mean, you kind of want to still be careful when you're batch painting, even though you're being a little bit sloppier with your paint. It's still kind of best practices to be efficient. Now, I'm not being totally super efficient here just because I know I'm going to be having a cleanup stage tomorrow morning when I come in for work, before I go to work. So I'm not too worried about right now. I just want to show you guys how quick it is to get paint on the model. Especially those of you that are going to, say, Warzone Houston, or you're going to Dallas G, or if you're already at Dallas GT, it's a little too late. So I'm not going to dwell on that. But he got Alamo GT coming up in March. No, sorry, May. And then, of course, Desert Rat in El Paso in June. And then, of course, the big one, the one that we all are going to go to because we love Houston so much, is Warzone Houston. Regardless, if you like any of the attendees or not, just go. Support your local conventions because it helps grow the community, helps grow the hobby, and it provides us an opportunity to show off our miniatures and our painting techniques and all that stuff, and probably, I think more importantly, helps bring sponsorship and recognition to Houston or your own cities. But let's be frank, we're talking about Houston. Not that there's anything wrong with other cities, but Houston's the best. So put aside any of your differences about the events or anybody that's attending, or you're worried about these armies that you'll be going up against or anything else. Man, just go out there, have fun. Remember, this is about having fun in the hobby more than it is the tournaments. I know some people really like to compete, but at the end of the day, we're a bunch of grown men, women, playing with little plastic toy soldiers. We have to remember that. So getting all worked up over personal gripes or previously bad experiences at a different event, that sort of stuff over plastic toy soldiers. I'm not saying that you're not wrong to be a little upset, but to pass up on helping grow your community and the hobby, maybe even bringing home the gold to your local store that you like. So let's say you are a fan of Atomic Hobby Shop. You want to show off that Atomic Hobby Shop has the best players for Warhammer 40,000 in the Houston area. And so you are going to be there. You're going to do your damnedest to win the tournament. Well, that means that Asgard guys are going to be sending their people too to win. And let's not forget about Etten, Games and Hobbies, Fat Ogre, Dragon's Lair, Goldmine, Montags. Everybody's going to be sending their best and brightest to compete. Put aside all their differences and go out there and show their love for the hobby. Now, you're not going to be able to do that unless you're getting your models painted. And that's where I'm trying to help you guys out. Don't care who you are, where you come from, what your business is in the hobby, but I know how difficult it is to get miniatures painted and on the tabletop so you can go out there and play the games. Finding the time. That's what this batch painting technique is for. It's to show you that you can get 65 models painted in 30 days. I'm spending about an hour and a half a day painting the models. Sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little less, but it's averaging out to about an hour and a half per 5 guys. And so if you think about that, I got 30 days. 30 days to get 65 guys done. I'm a little bit behind right now, but if you're getting 5 guys done a day, every day, then you're going to end up with, well, 150 guys done. Now, did I do the math right? Yeah, 5. 150. And that, I'm going a little slower because I'm adding on some extra layers of paint and everything. I'm not trying to just do the bare minimum. I'm trying to take this model just a little bit to the next level. And that's a personal reason. That's why I'm not putting just a basic layers of paint down. I'm trying to actually put down several layers. Now, if it's taken me an hour and a half to do 5 of these guys to a fairly decent quality, you could easily, very easily, get 3 color minimum on your models. Very easily. As long as you are physically capable. If you're not physically capable, then I totally understand that. And I hope that you find a way around that. I'm not sure what to say about that. Maybe even see if you can get somebody to paint the models. That way you can enjoy the hobby. No reason why you shouldn't be able to. Let's see here as I continue on. So yeah, 5 days, man, or 5 models a day. If you're just doing 3 color minimum, you should be done in actually less, unless you're doing like a horde army. You should be done less than 30 days. I mean, if I was just doing 3 color minimum for these guys, I probably would have been done in, I'm going to be honest, I probably would have been done in about a week. Maybe 2 weeks to be generous, because that would have been very prolific painting. So, and I know there's a couple people out there right now that are painting alongside me. I know that they're batch painting as well. Hopefully they're using my techniques, which is anybody's technique really. It's not like I developed this. I'm just putting into practice what I'm talking about. So there, all the metals done for those guys. Now it's time to move on. Let's see. I'm assuming that people can still hear me. I see a couple people watching. Got a couple thumbs up. If you can, respond in chat. Let me know who you are. Let me know what you're working on, if you're working on anything. Or if you're driving and listening, like I know one person has. Do not respond. Do not type. Just listen away. All right. So I've had people ask, what brushes am I using? At first, I started using the Army Painter brushes, and they have some interesting brushes that I really like. The main one I like is the Psycho brush. I'm going to put it underneath the monitor here, and hopefully you can see the tip. And then the other brush I primarily use, which I've already kind of messed up, is the small base brush for, I don't have a dime or anything to show you a comparison, but that is the Psycho is a really tiny brush. I'm not sure what the .0009er Delta Charlie, whatever it is, size, but it's really small. I use that for like eyeballs, or if I want to paint in lettering or anything like that. All right, so, oh, awesome. Somebody's on there batch painting 30K Imperial Fist Army. How are you doing your yellow? I'm always curious about people painting Imperial Fist armies, because I've done 2 different techniques. One with actually yellow, the different yellow paints like Averland Sunset and Uriel Yellow, I think it was. And then I did another technique where I white primered the model, and once that was dry, I put on a full head-to-toe coat of Cassandora yellow, the shade, and then once that was dried, put on another coat, and I got, I think, a really nice yellow. You have to make sure that you wick up where it pools, because it'll pull up a little orange. But I'm curious on who's Doogsy or Dogsy, how you are painting your yellow. I'm interested to know. Like the yellow I'm using for these guys, these are going to be red scorpions, which why would they have yellow? But they do have yellow on their armor. The reason why I'm using, or what I'm using here, is a combination of desert or a golden brown, and I will be doing a highlight of or golden yellow from Monument Hobbies, which I'm finding to be a very superior paint. I know some people get on to just to have somebody rambling in the background, because I know some people paint better when there's people in the room with them. I think my friend Kevin is always trying to get My friend Clint and I come over, and one of these days we'll get over there and paint with him. Some people do really well. You guys will see that I'm still doing a little bit of overpainting here or spill. I'm not worried about it. Like I said, I'm going to go back in and clean all that up. I just want to get that yellow on there because I just saw that I missed it. All right. Let's see here. So all that's done. Okay, so I'm going to go back to one of my other colors here. Using a little bit of black. This is where I can get the weapon casing on. Some people like to just slap down lead belcher for their weapons, like a bolter or a las pistol, las gun, whatever setting they're using. That's totally fine, especially if that works well for you and you're satisfied with that. That's your model, and you paint it the way that you like. I like to now paint the casings, the top casing part of all the weapons with a different color to help it stand out. Now I'm still going to go over this the lead belcher, which is a very dark metal color. Some people like to use like a brighter color. I've seen them use Stormhost Silver, which I think is a little too bright for a gun. I've seen them use Ironbreaker and Runefang Steel. I think those are all a little too bright, but not wrong. I would say that the brighter the color, you definitely need to include a shade, and I highly recommend, since I don't know any other brands, though Monument Hobby is putting out a line of shades or glazes, I recommend that you use what's it called? Nuln Oil. Nuln Oil is a watered down paint that whenever you apply it to like a metal or anything, it flows down into the crevices and really makes the model kind of stand out. I'll be showing you that here in a little bit as I continue to get the black on all the casings. Now some of these weapons will take a little longer because these rifles, I got to get underneath there. And like I said before, it's okay if I get a little bit of a spill, but right now, since I have already put the lead belchers down, and I could have gone either way. I could have put the black casing down first and then the lead belcher. Either way, at this stage now, I want to be a little bit more careful because this will, at this stage, if I have to do any cleanup on the lead belcher, that's going to increase my time spent painting. So, and since I'm just trying to get this done in a reasonable amount of time, like I said, 65 models, 30 days, just slightly behind, but I will make that deadline, and you guys will be here to watch it because this is part 4. The hardest part last week, or the first week, was just trying to get the right color scheme down. I ended up wasting a full day doing that, and I took yesterday off because I ran a tournament at Ed and Games and Hobbies, and I know some people will be like, well, you don't work there anymore. Yeah, you're right, I don't, but I'm also a TO for the area, and I'm helping out. I'm not promoting the store or the business. I am, however, promoting the hobby, which is the main drive here. I want to promote this hobby. I want people to, sorry, I just pulled that away. It wasn't done yet. I want to promote the hobby, whether you play Age of Sigmar, Horus Heresy, Malifaux, and even as much as I give a hard time to the people that play War Machine and Hordes, I want to promote them as well. I mean, there's a lot of games out there. The Batman Miniatures game, Arena Rex, which I am now an emissary for, so I'm going to be like doing some demos in the near future. I might even have a table set up to do demos at Warzone Houston. We'll see. It'd be really cool if I could work that out. It'll be a little difficult since I'm going to be running the event Alan, my partner, will be mainly concentrating on Horus Heresy, because that's a very intense and exhaustive event that somebody needs to be there to kind of constantly monitor. And I've got some judges for the other events, but I still need to be around to help out. So if I can, I'll demo that. Anyways, I really want to promote the miniature wargaming hobby. I think it's a great thing that brings people together and gives a chance for people to grow in the hobby. The more people that you interact with, the more people that you play games with, you start learning new techniques, make new friends, make new connections. I've seen people meet people from playing this game and help when they were down and out. They needed jobs. People in the community helped them not only get a job, help them get a place to live. I mean, this community, the miniature gaming community, is pretty awesome. At the end of the day, despite all of our little differences, we still are always there for each other. And as long as we keep promoting it to all the different stores and the different conventions and stuff, it's actually pretty amazing. So, and that can all be tied back into having your miniatures painted. You take a kind of a pride in having your miniatures painted, even if you just have a base coat, because you're showing off like, yeah, this is the color scheme that I'm going for, and maybe you were stuck and you don't know how to ask for it. Some people will just offer you some advice. They'll compliment you and maybe suggest, hey, try this or this, that will help you get models painted. And even if you don't need help, maybe you're going to see somebody's models that had an awesome conversion or a great paint job or a technique, and you learn from them. And once again, you're promoting the hobby. The more people that see your painted models at events at your local gaming stores like Eden, Atomic Hobby Shop, Montags, Fat Ogre, Dragon's Lair, wherever you game, they'll become interested. They're going to ask you about it and be cool. Walk them through it. Walk them through it not from the aspect of like, oh, if you want to play tournaments, you want to do this, or if you want to play narrative, you want to play this. Save that let them just make that decision. But you could talk to them about how cool it is to build the models, to play the games. And that's what I really strongly recommend. Forget about the competitive aspect of the games, unless of course they ask about it. But always just be positive about it. Whatever your outtake is on the community, just be positive about this game. I know I'm rambling a little bit here because I'm trying to get into that rhythm of painting, but yeah, help the community grow. And even if you don't like, say, Warhammer 40,000, and you are a die-hard Age of Sigmar player, awesome, congratulations. But if people ask about a game, I'm not going to say don't. Do your best not to say, oh, the superior game is this or this. Let them make that decision, because it's their money, and they'll remember you, and they'll be like, oh, hey, that guy said this game. He was talking about this game, which I'm more interested in because I like futuristic or I like fantasy, and that sounds really cool. Let them decide what they want to get into. Don't put in your bias about the tournament scene or the narrative scene or what you've heard about this place or this person. Just get them involved in it. Let them make those decisions, like playing tournaments or playing narrative play, whatever. Don't spook them or turn them off to something that they like based on your own bias. Save that for later. After you hook them into the hobby, then you can go, well, see, this is why I like this game, because of this reason. But get them in there first, man. Oh, black primer. Okay, so black primer, red brown base coat, building up dark yellow to lighter yellow, up to the mix of bone color, then bringing it back down the shade. Took a lot of the testers before I settled on a good enough color scheme. Awesome. Well, I'm glad that that's working out for you. And if you happen to be going to Warzone Houston, or if you just want to post like on the FMP FMP Wargamers Facebook page, I would love to see what those look like. I'm a big fan of the Imperial Fists. I even have the only model, because I wanted to donate my army for our first year with Warzone Houston. I donated my entire Horus Heresy army, minus Alexis Pollux, which was my favorite model that my friend Clint got me. But I've got like a Yeti cup that's got a custom Imperial Fist logo on it and a quote from Dorn. I really, really like the Imperial Fist. I think that me personally, is some of the stories that I've read about how diverse that they are and their recruitment, that sort of stuff, and all their successor chapters. I think they are probably the best legion and or chapter, if loyalist wise. Now, if I have to go with, if I wanted to go talking about traitors, which I don't like bad guys, but if I want to talk about traitors, I would say probably the what are those guys called? The Batman guys. Oh goodness, Night Lords. I really like the Night Lords. I think they're pretty cool. All right, so continuing on with base coating, while that black is settling in, some of my guys here, I've got these 5 guys here. 2 have full helmets on. The other 3 have some exposed skin on their head. You know, we've all commented on, I'm sure, especially for those that are just like new to the hobby, you'll see with like Space Marines and Trader Marines, actually a lot of models, you'll see them without their helmets on. But what I find particularly funny is that Space Marines and Chaos Space Marines in particular, they go through such great lengths to protect their shins and their shoulders, but they'll run around without a helmet on. And I mean, this is 40,000 years in the future. Their helmets should be, almost mandatory. And I know that they kind of want to show off the versatility, but it's just funny to see it out on a tabletop. And I know I'm being a little hypocritical, because here I am painting a bunch of bareheaded guys. But I don't know. I always thought it was funny. It's like shoulder pads all of a sudden are extremely vulnerable, or shoulders are extremely vulnerable in the 41st millennia, and same with shins. So they up armor those more than anything else. So all I'm doing right here, is a little bit of skin that I do have exposed. I'm hitting it with a base coat of Bugman's Glow. I'll be using that probably for all the models. All right, so it's really irritating me. I see a whole bunch of places where I kind of went over on the paint. So I'm going to grab some of my standard Mechanicum Gray, which is what I base coated these guys in. I actually used the primer can. So I'm going to go back in, make sure you guys can see on my camera here. And if anybody ever has a question and you're online, go ahead and jump in the chat and ask, and I can do my best to walk you through it. So right now what I'm doing is just doing a kind of a quick cleanup stage. It slows down my paint process, but I'm not going to get these guys done by 5:30. This was just kind of like I wanted to get another 10 guys done today. These guys I'll finish up tonight or tomorrow morning, so I'll have another 10 done tomorrow, plus I'm hoping in an hour and a half, since I have not painted them yet, I'm hoping in an hour and a half I can get 5 suppressors done. So just a quick thing, when you are painting, kind of be loose in your shoulders, loosen your grip on the brush, and be fast and sure with your paint strokes. I see a lot of people they'll tense up and then the brush is shaking and they're trying to zoom in on this area, and then all of a sudden there's too much tension and they're gonna paint over. I'm not gonna do it here, and I've done it, and I'll do it again. But it's just something, just kind of do your best to relax. If you notice that you're starting to make mistakes while you're painting, take a step back or lean back, breathe, and kind of focus yourself a little bit. If you got to get up, walk around, go get splash water in your face, drink some water, do something to loosen back up before you go back in and paint. It'll help you out big time. I've had people ask about the way I'll do my brush strokes. I drag towards me. I've seen people will paint away, they'll flick away, or they'll dab away. It's kind of a more natural movement with the way your muscles and tendons work for you to drag the brush towards you. Now, sometimes you're going to be in an area where you just kind of got to go forward and put a dot down or something. That's okay, but do your best to always bring that brush towards you. And one other thing about your brush strokes, after you paint, do a couple strokes, just turn your brush, just rotate your brush, maybe 90 degrees, 180 degrees, or 90 degrees, and do a couple strokes, rotate, rinse and repeat. The reason why you're going to want to do that is the brush, it's kind of hard to see here, but the brush will do this little curl at the front. And some people are like, oh, I love that little curl because then I know how to hook it in there. Yeah, but you're also ruining that brush. And when you need to just get that dab, now you're having to angle everything because the tip of your brush is now dipping down. So just rotate that brush. Sorry if I hit the camera there. Rotate the brush with every stroke. This one's already screwed, so I'm not too worried about it. I'm going to enjoy that little hook that I got going on there, and I'm going to make the best use of it. And it's one of those things that you'll kind of get accustomed to. It's like, well, I know how this brush lays. I know how it works. It works for me. I don't like to do that because it's a waste of a brush, because eventually that brush is going to start kind of splaying out. So instead of having that nice little tight tip, it's going to end up doing is fraying. And even if it's simple enough that you can go in and cut those little strands here and there. Yeah, you can do that, but eventually you're going to have to cut too many of those strands. You're going to lose the integrity of that brush, and that is not good. Maintaining your integrity, much like your day-to-day life, maintaining your integrity, maintaining the integrity of that brush is very important, because then you know that you can rely on that brush. Just like in life, you can rely on somebody if they're not violating their integrity, they're really they're always doing the right thing all 100% of the time, just like these brushes. If you want them to perform 100% of the time the right way, maintain that brush integrity, just like your life. Make sure you do that. Let's see here. Hugh Tex or Kevin, it is YouTube today. If you guys have been following me on Twitch, I apologize. I cannot have both windows open at the same time. So jump over to FNP Wargamers on YouTube. In the future, I'm going to be exclusively, well, I will not be exclusively filming on or live streaming on Twitch, but I will have the whole new layout. I got somebody working on for me. All little doodads at the bottom of the screen and the sides and everything. All be fancy, nice intro video, etc., etc. And I'll be having the Twitch up, or Twitch program up, so I can actually be alerted to anything, anybody commenting on there. For some reason, I can't get it in YouTube, so Now we will be streaming still to YouTube. That's where the software still streams to, but I only have the one chat window up. So keep that in mind. Probably May, when I go back in and I start the next series for this. The next series will be a cleanup series where I'm actually going to go in and I'm going to, where I've dry brushed or did a simple line highlighting, I'm going to go back in and do wet blending. I'm actually going to do it. I'm not sure what it's going to be. The show is going to be called, but basically it's going to be like a home improvement show where I'm going to have a model or a bunch of miniatures that need to be cleaned up and fixed. So that's what I'm going to do with these models. I'm going to go back in, clean them up, fix them up, make them look pretty without restarting the paint job. So where I've dry brushed enough just to get a little bit of texture and depth onto the model, I'm going to go back in, and some of those areas are going to be simply just wet blended or highlighted, or maybe a wet on wet technique, a more advanced painting technique. All right, so what I'm doing now, I'm taking burnt red. It's from Monument Hobbies. All right, it's similar to, it's in between corn red and Mephiston red from Citadel. I like this red a lot. It's a nice dark red. I'm not sure where, oh, I'm only applying this to anybody's has eye lenses or lenses on their helmets or on these crack grenades. Crack grenades are, for those that are like, what the heck is he talking about? They're kind of an anti-armor grenade. I think last time I said anti-personnel, which in a way, yeah, it is anti-personnel. If you throw an anti-armor grenade at somebody, they're going to be dealt with pretty dang quick. And these lenses on their, now these rifles have actually, most rifles will only have like one scope, maybe a laser designator or like a flip scope to where they can go from a red dot to a maybe a ×4 or ×6 magnification for close quarters or long range. Let's see, I've got 4 more minutes. Anyways, so I'm applying that. I'm treating the ACOGs as this top one as a ACOG. So it's getting a red lens on both ends. This bottom one right here, I'm treating that as like a laser designator, like a red dot laser. But I'm going to be actually painting it green because I want it to pop out a little bit more. And I know it's a movie thing, or you know, when you have your infrared visors on and everything, so you'll see a green line instead of like a red line in the distance. That's the other reason why I'm doing it. Just kind of doing that movie magic. People are like, oh yeah, that's like the red or the green dot that I see with the night vision goggles and stuff. Yeah, that's exactly what. Grab this for a reason. Oops, let's see, got a little bit of overpaint there. And here's something about when you get a little too much paint, or you get paint in the wrong area. If you're quick enough, I'm not going to worry about it because I'm just going to, oh, maybe I will. If you're quick enough, you can wet down your brush, go back in. And this is non-toxic paint, so me sticking it in my mouth, I'm not worried about getting some carcinogenic. We don't live in California, so I don't have to worry about any of those issues. You see, I just wiped that off really quick. I'm going back over. I forgot to do the skulls on a couple of these guys here. And I try to do this all relatively at the same time, but I get talking on the show, and sometimes I miss. So keep in mind what I said earlier about those sure brush strokes. Because the faster you zip in, like right here, I'm just going to go in, line up my brush, go in, paint, paint, paint. There we go. Quickly go over that lens, get the back end of that lens, voila. This guy's got some goggles on instead of a helmet, so I'm going to go ahead and just start there. And this is really just the base coat of that red. I'm going to go back in later and paint that red. Now this guy is going to be a little trickier, these shooters, because they're usually I like to leave the weapon arms off so I can get to the chest pieces, but I did not do that with these guys. I'm kind of regretting it now. So this is that part where you can kind of dab in there, but I'm getting a little bit of paint over there. I'm going to clean up my brush real quick. And yeah, there we go. All nice and cleaned up. So go back in. I did it again. Gosh darn it. And I could conceivably just wait for that red to dry and go back over it with the gray later, but I wanted to show you that technique. Now this is where you need to have that fine tip. And me having this bent brush is not good, because now I got to kind of line everything up. I want to go ahead and just do a quick, sure line right there in the eyeball. Quick line in the eyeball. And then call it a day. Now, a lot of people would be fine with that, and that's totally okay. If you just want to have that one color in there, fine. Later on, I'm going to go back in and put another, I'm going to put a brighter color in, but still leaving kind of down in the crevices or the outline. I'm going to be leaving that darker red there. And then I'm going to come back in, I'll come back in on that brighter red with a little bit of white or maybe like a pink. Oops, just kind of, this is where that hook brush really bit me in the ass. Now this probably can't, okay, so this area I'm gonna have to go back in and hit with the gray because I really ran over there. I wasn't paying too much attention. It is 5:30, 5:31, so that means I need to stop what I'm doing, which is good because you know what? Real quick, we're going to go ahead and get the last of these crack grenades done because it's only this one guy and one more. All right, let me get all the rest of these guys out of the way. Let me get this dock. Oh, actually, the dock, all he has is a purity seal. For those uninitiated, purity seals, kind of like a, I'm not going to go into it because I'll have to go into the lore, and it's a very frustrating thing. Watch one of my other episodes. Make sure that you guys are liking and subscribing. It really helps us out, and you guys commenting also, especially if you're like, hey, I want to see this, or can you explain this? We can improve upon our videos and make a better quality video, or maybe even have a future episode where we address your concerns about certain techniques. Maybe you want to see me paint a certain technique. I can't do that if I don't know. So something to think about in the future. All right, so we are going to tackle the suppressors today. All right, so for those that are curious, I'm going to try to be very meticulous today. So this is a suppressor. He's missing his backpack. He's not on his flight stand. They kind of hang in the air because they're falling from low orbit or high in the sky. And they've got these jump packs, or these backpacks right here next to them that help them. It helps repel gravity. They're called grav chutes, and let them kind of gently come down, relatively gently. And their whole role with these big guns is to lay down lots of suppressive fire. Hence their terminology being called suppressors. So since this is a brand new model, I'm going to start off with, after I take a drink of water here, painting 3, and if I complete these 3 before that hour and a half, I'll go ahead and start on the next 3 so you guys can see a more refined process. You'll still see me doing 5, maybe 6. I got 6 total here, so let's see what we can do. Now, they're not on bases, and that's going to be a little problematic. So what I'm going to be doing for the most part is using this, holding onto the tip of the barrel here, always the tip, and I'm going to do my best not to paint the bottom of those feet. Just, you know what? Screw that. I've got 3 guys that are based. We're going to go ahead and use these ones that are based. It'll be a lot easier to deal with. So, first one, these are kind of cheap bases that I started out with. I just want to kind of test out. All this is like a resin brick that I've added a couple bits and pieces to kind of make it look like maybe machinery, or maybe it was machinery that's like, they put into the ceramite or plasteel. I got some bullet hole damage there, some claw marks here. I don't know if I'm going to stick with this, but for right now, this at least allows me not to use the flight stands that Games Workshop has put out. I don't like their flight stands for these models because they're very fragile. When you put the miniatures on, they tend to, if any bit of pressure put on the model, it'll snap it off. So I haven't come up with a good way yet of dealing with that. All right, so my first step with batch painting is the same thing I did with the Infiltrators, the past 25. So I'm going to start with my black. And the reason for this is still me also using the base brush, which is kind of like has turned into like my full utility brush. I did get a small layer brush to help me out today, but I don't know if I'll end up using it. I've got a couple like $30 brushes here. I'm just afraid to use it because I don't want to ruin them, and it's kind of a waste. They were gifted to me. I didn't go out and spend money. That's something that I want to address. Don't get, unless you just want like that most bare minimum paint job on your models, don't buy cheap brushes. Buy quality brushes. I'm not saying every brush needs to be $25 brushes. These are all like $6, $7 brushes that I'm using right here from Citadel. But get yourself quality materials. Get the good pair of clippers, the precision cut, flat edge clippers. Use good super glue. Use files to get rid of mold lines. Use high quality paints. Don't skimp on this. You already paid a pretty penny for these miniatures. Don't use substandard product to paint them or build them. You're really just kind of ruining it. All right, so here we go. A little bit of preachy moment there. So this is going to be a little bit harder because these guys are, their legs are all weird. It's a brand new model. So what I'm doing is still sticking to these little joints right here or underneath their armor. These flexible, I'm not even sure what that is. I'm assuming it's like some sort of flexible armor. They're all over the place. It's usually just in the joints, right underneath the hips, or right at the hips, the groin area. It's kind of hard to see here, but the torso plate, and then you'll see sometimes in the little nook of their arms. Am I getting that on there? All right. Really, that's not a lot. So in this case, since I didn't have to get too much black on this guy, we're going to actually go ahead and do the casing now. We're actually, all right, yeah. Try to raise this camera up here a little bit because this is kind of a bigger area, and I'm afraid I'm going to bump the camera. So we are going to go ahead and apply the black onto the casing instead of waiting till later. We're going to go ahead and apply that now. For the most part, this barrel is going to, from here down, will remain like the lead belcher color. Like cleanup series, I'll do like the little heat stain from firing that gun for too long. You know, like how metal gets superheated, and it'll kind of leave this multicolored stain. I guess the best way to describe it. There might be a more technical term, but that's what it looks like to me. And some people are like, well, how do you know what to paint, what color? And I'm like, I'm just kind of like winging it right here. I don't really know, but based on previous models that I've painted, I always try to do the casing a different color, including the scopes. I'm using some bad paint techniques here because this brush is deteriorating, but get some of that black in there. We're just trying to get that casing done. Alright. This is also the very first time I've painted one of these suppressors. So this whole process is going to be kind of experimental. I'm kind of going to be stuck with it because I don't want to repaint, because I'm also going to be running out of time with my 30 days if I've got to go back and repaint 12 models. That's going to suck. Alright, so yeah, I think that is good. Oops. You know what? Let's go ahead and these little shock pads, or what they got for landing when they're coming in hot from orbit, even with their grav chutes. Let's go ahead and just paint those black, just because that'll help frame the model, which is kind of something that we're aiming for here. We want to show this model off. So those little foot pads are just going to get some black paint, just something simple. They're not going to be fancy. They're not Prada or Michael Kors fancy shoes or whatever that your wife or girlfriend or maybe even you are paying a small fortune for, to have your feet in some very incredibly uncomfortable shoes, but they look amazing. So we're just going to apply black onto these. There. This other part, this little bar here that holds it in place, we're just going to slap with lead belcher. We're going to keep it simple. Alright, so that guy was done pretty quick. You can see I went ahead and did the feet, did the weapon casing, got behind the knees the best I could. I couldn't get all of his underneath the crotch area here, his groin area, his taint, whatever you want to call it. I couldn't get to all those spots. Oh, look at that. There's a little part right here underneath the shoulder pad where he's got the little piping, little flex point that has been revealed, and a little bit there. Am I being ridiculous? Excuse me, getting that? Yeah. All right, let me put him out of the way. Now there's at least, with these suppressors, there are two guys that are positioned the same in the box, and then there is a third that is slightly different. So that's something to keep into account. I think that first one I did was the odd man out. It looks like it. Yeah, nope. Yeah, that was the odd man out. So these next two are relatively the same. Some people might be questioning, where are your model holders, Kevin? I forgot to bring them. So I will be using those this coming week when I show off the me painting the eliminators from this box set. And of course, if I do a follow-up video with the suppressors, in case anybody's interested. I just got really sloppy there. I just got a lot of paint. Oh no, it looked sloppy. That's a very sloppy technique I just executed, but it worked out up until I did that. Wipe with my finger, good enough for government work. All right, so I'm going to continue on with this black, just getting down in all these little flex points wherever it appears, and that's really it for those flex points. Man, been lucking out. One thing I will not do today, is because I don't have a picture up, is the Red Scorpion shoulder pad. I actually have a bunch from Forge World arrived finally, and I forgot how these go. I'm pretty sure it's the interior is black, the Scorpion is of course red, and then there's a yellow ring around it surrounded by a black field, and then the trim of that shoulder pad is yellow like I've been painting on all the other guys. I will show that on this coming Wednesday's video and I'll come back and I'll redo these models so you can see what that looks like. I know at the very least that this black, or the inside of the shoulder pad, is going to be black, so I don't mind. Go ahead and get that base coat in there so I'll know I've got that done. So we're going to quickly just slap this paint in here. There we go. Come to the other side. I'm not putting any squad markings on because I'm trying to debate. I'm a big fan of 3D parts, but I also am a big fan of taking my stuff to Games Workshop. And there's a couple 3D printed places that will put like squad markings or squad numbers, other things I can put on the right shoulder pad. The left shoulder pad is always the chapter insignia. So, man, like I said, I'm really caught on what I want to do. Because I really love Games Workshop. They do a fantastic job. If they didn't, there wouldn't be like 12,000 people in the ITC right now. Wouldn't be 1,200 players here in the Houston area. Over 1,200, sorry. But they're missing out on that secondary market of shoulder pads. They've got, I dare I say, they've got a responsibility. If they're not going to allow people to have the different shoulder pads of their like 300, well, if you add in the Renegade chapters and Legions, over 300 chapters or legions, whatever, shoulder pads, and they've got maybe shoulder pads for, and I'm going to stretch this, maybe for a dozen of those 300 some plus chapters. They've got some decals out there, but still, I'm including that in that number. And there are a lot of people that, man, they just want to play their favorite chapter that Games Workshop created, but are not making shoulder pads for. And all they have to, Games Workshop has to do, and if you're an employee, which I know that there's at least one employee that watches these videos, not live, but afterwards, you can take this idea and run with it. I don't care. Have them, propose to them to hire one person to operate 12 3D printers. 12 3D printers. You know what? They could probably even do 6 if they really wanted to just kind of experiment with this. Run 6 medium quality 3D printers. You already have people that are producing these the files for these shoulder pads and these designs and everything that are showing up in the miniatures. Have them just create a file to where all that one employee has to go do is whenever there's a direct order, not something that's going to be in stores, but it's going to be just only available on the web store, printed shoulder pads, or the little just icons, not the brass etchings, but the plastic icons like Pop Goes the Monkey has, where you can take just the symbol and glue it onto the shoulder pad. It's going to save you money in the long run. You don't have to worry about fancy packaging. Just toss it in a white box like you guys do and ship it off. I can't guarantee it, but you will probably make your money back in about 6 months and be hand over fist after that. You're missing out on that market. So if you're just tuning in, I'm just applying the base coat to the model. I'm doing 3 suppressors right now because these are slightly more involved than the Infiltrators are, just because of the bigger gun, a lot more area to paint, and I have not painted these yet, so not sure what to expect, what troubles I'm going to run across, or what areas I need, not necessarily troubles, but what other areas do I need to paint on these things, because there's so much going on here. I mean, it's almost like painting a character model, because there's just so much crap on it, and I mean crap in a good way, mind you. So I'm still. Thanks, Kevin. I need that reminder about the painting handles. I bought 5 or 4. I've already had 1. I bought these painting handles from Games Workshop. Fantastic product, by the way, and they are ideal for batch painting because I'm gripping these miniatures by the base. The painting handles a little bit more ergonomic, actually a lot more ergonomic, and they allow, they're just so much better. They allow me to be able to grip that model correctly, hold it in place without worrying about my fingers slipping off of holding this very narrow base. And I don't have to worry about my hands or me twisting the model and then all of a sudden I'm bumping my finger or my hand or my thumb, whatever, and getting paint all over it and smearing the paint job I just put on, which I've done numerous times and I will continue to do it if I don't have, until I start using that paint handle. So hopefully I can remember the paint handle because I do not want Kevin coming in here and stapling a reminder to my head. That would be painful. It might cause a little bit of trouble with our friendship. So I forgot to paint the Prada shoes for the other guy, so I'm going to quickly get the paint on here for the shoe. Hashtag Space Marine Suppressors wear Prada. And let's see here. And if Prada does not make a shoe, which I think they do have a shoe line, I could be wrong. We can go with Michael Kors. Boy, I can't think of, there's another one that I just can't think off the top of my head. Not that I shop there frequently or anything, but oh, I did get their shoes. Oh, I know why I felt like I didn't get all their boots, because the first guy I did, I had actually clipped off the little robo boots or those landing pads or whatever, these little shock pads at the bottom of his feet, because I wanted to show, I was thinking that when they land, and they're not going to be, because they have grab chutes, so the chutes are supposed to drop them in, kind of like parachuting, and then they go about their business. But and so I was thinking is, okay, when they land, maybe they hit a button, or then those pads come off so they could actually run around the battlefield. And yeah, I understand that they have the fly keyword for the game, but it just seems a little bit more practical than having those little booties or high heels, Space Marine high heels. I know I'm getting sloppy here with this black. I don't care. I'm running out of time. I want to be faster with this paint job. A little bit more black. I'm using Chaos Black for the model. Right now, the Chaos Black, I have not used Monument Hobbies Black, but as I said before, when I started the show a little early, I am a fan of the Citadel line, but I'm quickly, very quickly, starting to like Monument Hobbies. They have a nice blend between, like, Citadel to me and Vallejo, kind of on par. They're very high quality paints, but they're a little too thick until you get to their layers, and then the layers are really thin. Monument Hobbies, their paints tend to be, so far I've gone through 2, 4, I've tried 6 of them now. Each of them have been a consistent, and it's a varying brightness. Here I've gone all the way from titanium white to burnt red. Okay, so before I get distracted anymore, take a drink of my Monster Orange, not a sponsor, but the Sunrise is amazing. Thank you, Monster, for producing it. If you want to sponsor us, please do so. I start my day with one every day. All right, so we're going to go to the next color. At this stage, I'm going to actually be using a dry brushing technique. Now, this is where batch painting, which I was talking about in the first hour or so when I started a little early, kind of going over those infiltrators. This is where batch painting comes in handy. Because what you're going to do is, once you get your model base coated, and this is why I added the black, especially to the joints, is because when I dry brush a lighter gray, in this case administrative gray, it's going to go over all the raised areas of the model and help it stand out more. Now, dry brushing is not the best technique, but it is the fastest technique to getting paint on the model and it having a good quality. So, excuse me, if you are of the school of simple 3-color minimum, I'm going to recommend to you that you try dry brushing at least the primary color of the model. So dry brushing is just getting a little bit of paint on your brush, like so, and just kind of going back and forth until you wipe off there's virtually no paint coming off. And it sounds counterintuitive, but there's a reason for that, because we don't want this model to have a lot of paint, or we don't want a lot of paint on the brush. So all we're going to be doing, let's see, make sure I got the camera lined up here. All right, here we go. We're just going to kind of very lightly. We don't want to get down in the crevices. We don't want to push down too much on this brush, because we just want to get the edges. And it's going to be a little hard to see, but the edges of the model are going to be getting just a dash of this administrative gray, this light gray. It's going to help it stand out. It's going to kind of give it a little bit more of a textured look because of the way that the bristles are barely going over the model. And on the edges, the raised edges of the model, the paint is going to catch on more and it's going to pop out a little bit more. Is it the best technique? Absolutely not. Is it the best technique if you are not going for a painting award? Yes. You don't care. But is it wait, what did I say? If you're going for a painting award, it is not the best technique. If you don't care about the painting award, then heck yeah, man. If you're just going to a convention or a tournament and you want, and their requirement, which is happening more and more, is just have a painted model, man, base coat, dry brush, call it a day. 3-color minimum, and then a dry brush. Ooh, baby. All right, so here we are. Just still dry brushing the model, getting under his helmet, getting under on his little butt plate there that all Space Marines have. That includes Chaos Space Marines, who are the bad guys, if you're not aware. Yes, I realize that some people are like, oh, no, they're the good guys. Well, they're not the good guys. You know better. So just hold on to that model. I'm just dragging that brush lightly across the top. It looks like I'm being really hard with the brush, but I'm not. I'm barely hitting the surface of that. I mean, I'm not grinding it down. I'm just flicking it across there. I'm not going to be hitting the gun. I just care about the armor, the gray armor plates. Let's see, what time is it? Oh gosh, I am way behind schedule here. I only got one base coat on here. Oh, see, got a little carried away, did not pay attention. I am messing up all over the place. I apologize, guys. Let me slow down here. Get paint on the model. We just care about over the plate. And this is where that black comes in handy on the ribbing. It's kind of hard to see, but by having that black already down, when I dry brush this gray over, this light gray over the black, it helps pop out those little ridges, enhancing that the raised areas there, or the texture of the model. All right, so I think we are good for this base coat. All right, and the dry brushing. So with these flat brushes like this, make sure you wash it off. If you make sure, I forgot to bring it, make sure you use the soap to clean off your brushes. But with these flat dry brushes, just fold over, hold, and squeeze, especially if you're going to go back and have to dry brush again. Squeeze on some paper towel and let the paper towel wick it up. It also kind of flattens the brush. And then when you're done, set it off to the side. All right, that's taken care of. Let's go into the next part. Since I've been kind of following the same scheme and theme with painting these. Whatever, Kevin. Since I've been following the same scheme for these models with this army, doesn't look like these guys have as many pouch. Oh, they do got a lot of pouches and grenades. Wow. All right. That is that brush. We want our medium base brush. All right. At this point, I can choose any color. I am going to dive right into. Let's go with the yellow. Or sorry, golden brown for Monument Hobbies. It's similar to Averland Sunset and with a dash of Xandri Dust. Maybe. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but I like this yellow as the base. So I'm going to get some on my brush. This color is only for the pouches and ooh, be very careful. And the trim on the shoulder pads. So first up, those quick, relatively quick brush strokes. Just go in, brush. If you spill some paint onto the model, you can clean up later. The only thing I'd say be very careful with is getting a reddish color all the way to orange onto white paint. It becomes very difficult to cover back up. So be very careful when you're painting red near white, which I'm very thankful when I put the vote up. I really want to do excoriators. It's they are a second founding chapter for the Imperial Fist. And their armor is all white with a dash of red on their shoulder pad. Was it red? Yeah. But thankfully, the fans, that's all of you, voted for Red Scorpions. So, cool. It really saved my ass. So I got a little bit of overpaint there on the inside of that, or on his outer thigh. Not too worried about. I am going to go ahead, since I got the time, I'm going to go ahead and just quickly, very gently, not a lot of pressure. We're just going to go ahead and get the paint on the shoulder pads. Now, in a future videos, I'm going to try to do some other races. I hate using anybody but Marines. And yes, I understand. I've done virtually every army over the past 30 years, with the exception of Necrons, I think, and maybe some of the different legions. I don't know, but I don't count them as different races. And whether it's been my own army or I've painted for somebody else. While there, I was very prolific with commission paintings, but I was sacrificing my time on my own models, and I was kind of like losing my joy of painting and building because I was doing other people's stuff, and I was doing so many models, so many armies in a year that I got burnt out a little bit, and I've had to actually turn away. So far this year, I've turned away probably about $2,200 worth of commissions. Yeah, 2,200, yeah, of commissions, just because I got a little burnt out. After Warzone Houston and probably Wargames Con, I may, depending on what armies are out, I may take up commissions again, but I don't know. So if you're just tuning in, I'm just applying base coats to 3 suppressors. So I have not done these today, so 3 will probably take me an hour and a half to completely do. I hope not. I hope I have time to tackle 2 more. So I can. My goal has been kind of like 5 models a day, So I might be able to pull that off. I don't know. We will find out. The good thing is that after I painted did a batch painting job. That's what this is right here. If you're just tuning in, I'm batch painting. Once I've done a batch or a test model, I have a pretty good idea how these models play out and when I'm painting them. So I get into a nice rhythm, and I usually have music going on, but I don't want to drown out the sound of my voice. I'm getting a lot of overpaint here. But once you get into that rhythm and you know, okay, I'm painting 12 suppressors, which I will be doing over this week, plus some eliminators. I know that the model work has all these little quirks here, and here that I have to paint, and this is the process, the step-by-step I need to do before moving on. So and this brush is going to need a good wash here in a minute because it is starting to get gummed up with paint. And I'm going to apologize that sometimes when I'm painting and I'm talking like this, I might drift off a little bit in the volume of my voice, but this microphone's pretty gosh darn close, so should not have too much of a difficulty hearing me. But if you do, I apologize, and I'll try to remember. All right, so that is 2 down, 1 to go. I'm going to go ahead and clean off my brush. I appreciate everybody watching. If you guys can just real quick go down and click the thumbs up, and I really would appreciate it. And also hit the subscribe button. It's more subscribers we get, the better attention we get from like Games Workshop. Oh my gosh, I can't think of the name. A couple of these other companies like Hammerhead Games, who has helped us out with some fantastic gamer aids, ChessX for their dice, Creature Caster, and Monument Hobbies, who has helped us out, and Warzone Houston. Of course, the Atomic Hobby Shop. Getting these shout outs also kind of gets us material so we can show stuff off to you guys and have better shows. Like we got some new microphones coming in. We got new cameras. We want to get a nice green screen or blue screen in the back so we can have a nice background when we're doing stuff like this. And that's where the Patreon also comes in. Going on to our becoming a Patreon subscriber really helps out the show. And it's only, the cost, or it doesn't cost that much to be a subscriber. The way I look at it is less than a fast food value meal a week, less than one value meal a week that pays for the whole month. So basically just skip one of your value meals, excuse me, from Chick-fil-A or Burger King, McDonald's, wherever you go. Skip that for one day of the month and subscribe to us, or be a Patreon supporter. And that gets you invited to the Elite Chat, where you get to chat with us, select videos, and a lot of other little neat contests that Ski and I have been talking about. We just haven't pitched to the creators of the show just yet, but little things to really give back to our subscribers. But we can't do that without subscribers and Patreon supporters. So help us out. We'll do our best to do some fantastic videos for you. We got a whole bunch of battle reports that are being worked on right now. Let's see here. I will be, hopefully, if all goes well, be heading to Gen Con this year, and with a couple other people that may be playing in the 40K tournament that they have there. Regardless, I'll be filming Gen Con for the channel. For those of you that can't go, I'll of course be checking all the miniature gaming stuff, but all the other fantastic things that are going on there. And if all works out well, I'm hoping I can run some games, some RPGs for Monty Cook Games, for their Invisible Sun RPG, which is a fantastic RPG, by the way. Very surreal, and it's very role play heavy, as in taking the role of your characters versus rolling lots and lots of dice. Sorry if I drifted off there, off camera. Still getting used to the camera. I'm trying to get a better overhead camera. I mean, this is an awesome overhead camera, but we're finding a better position or zoom feature on there. Anyways, so being a Patreon supporter really helps us out, and we can start getting some fantastic content for you all. More fantastic content. Even like a weekly studio show, which is what I would love to do. In fact, after talking to my friend Clint, kind of helped spur on an idea that I was already thinking about, is doing an every other day or a daily show where we just talk about whatever's coming up, or it gives us a chance to interact with our followers, give a chance like, hey, what project are you working on? Or what do you think about this ruling or this new thing coming out? Or what's your speculation on these rumors? So that's just something that I would like to do to give back to you guys, because you've been very, very awesome in contributing to FNP Wargamers. And I'd like to be able to create more content videos like that, so you guys can get a little bit more value out of the dollar that you put into it. So I'm going back in real quick with the yellow. Something I forgot to do with this yellow is all the other infiltrators that I've done, none of them have these little chest symbols. Usually for Space Marines, there's a skull with wings, or it is a double-headed eagle. Generally speaking, for the Games Workshop's chest symbols. Now, Forge World, their parent or their sister company or whatever, they might have specialty symbols on there. You might have somebody that has like the Red Scorpions. They might have a Red Scorpion symbol in the center of the chest versus having the skull or the double-headed eagle. So I forgot, I just noticed this when I set the other model down, that I need to do these chest symbols. And I've been particularly sloppy with these guys, and it's because I'm getting a little hasty. I want to get these guys done so you guys can see that they are easy to paint. And I'm, of course, taking these to a higher level. Right now, if you guys were looking for a 3-color minimum, just the bare minimum for your model, you would be done right now. Congratulations. You can now walk away with the pride that your model was painted. 3 colors. This is the golden brown, the standard mechanicum gray, and black. You just got done building and painting your model. And that was maybe 45 minutes, and that's just me kind of a lot of chit-chatting. Actually, it's 4 colors because I did the dry brushing. So you can see how fast you can actually do this. So while that yellow is drying, now it's time to hit that big old, you know what, no, I'm going to hold off on the lead belcher. I'm trying to wait for the lead belcher, so I want that to be really the last step that I do, one of the last steps. So I'm actually going to go in right now. I'm going to grab some Wog Flesh. It's a very dark green. It's usually the basis that you want to paint your orcs. It's the base color that you want your orcs to be. And this right here is simply going to be going over each of these frag grenades that they have on their chests. Once again, why you would want it on your chests. So, because most people do body shots, except in the movies, and you're John Wick and you're getting headshots, or you're, I think, a Graham McNeil novel, and you're getting headshots with your bolters against orcs left and right. that's a thing. Pretty sure it was Graham McNeil. He did not Blood Angels, a Dark Angels novel that just seemed like that's all they did. It was like headshot, 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 headshot. But yeah, so all we're doing right here. Oh man, I can see I missed a spot. Right below this grenade is a strap, and there's a little strap at the top. Those I've been painting yellow to stick with the theme. The reason why I've been going with yellow is because generally speaking, this is kind of like how you would actually see a regular Red Scorpion in his armor, not the Phobos armor that the Infiltrators have, but a regular power armor. So you'd have the yellow, and then the yellow chest symbol, and on the guards here. So I've been painting, since I've got a lack of areas, I've been painting the pouches and stuff a yellow, just to help break up just the dull gray of the paint scheme. It's a really dull paint scheme. I realize that. You realize that. That's why I wanted to kind of break it up. So let me check chat real quick. I got 4 people watching, 3 people liking. That's fantastic. Thank you guys. For those that are watching this video later on, just hit like and subscribe. Really appreciate if you would. It helps justify my existence. And plus, comment, because if I don't know what you guys want to see painted, or if you have questions about stuff, or you just want to give me a hard time, like my good friend Kevin, I won't know unless you say something. Now, some people are might be asking, John, where did you get those helmets? Well, these helmets I've had to scour the internet for. It is the chaplain head for the Minotaurs. Can't think of his name, but it's a Forge World model. So I pretty much have had to wheel and deal and pay ridiculous prices just for these helmets. I've only managed to secure 9 of them. Which is perfect because that's all I need for these guys. But I would like to have some more just in case. I think it's a really cool head. Basically, it's like a hoplite. Oh man, I just messed up. It's basically a hoplite style, like Greek helmet with the plume, but inside it's got the skull mask that's attributed to the chaplains, which are kind of like the spiritual advisors. So I'm going to do a real quick cleanup since I got a little bit of time here. I got a little too much white there, and since I got a little bit of time, give me a quick scan of any areas that I might have gotten paint over. Yep, go ahead and clean that up. Not worried about the yellow on the gun. A little bit of, I don't care about that. All right, so real quick, let's check out these helmets. See if I messed up. Yep, got a little bit of white on these. Quick check. Yep, a couple of areas there that I messed up. Now, I'm taking time to go back and do this, and I'm really hurting myself because I'm on a bit of a timetable to get all these models done in 30 days. But it's kind of a little bit of perfectionism. I don't, even though I'm going to have a whole like 3-week series where I'm going to be cleaning these models up and making them look better, it's still just kind of irritating me to leave it unfinished or messed up. Okay, I gotta wait for that green to dry. As I look at these models, I'm really at the stage where I need to use the, gosh darn it, I'm gonna have to use the lead belcher right now. So it's time to do lead belcher. There's nothing wrong with the lead belcher. I just was hoping to wait a little bit longer. Black Tower terrain. Just listening while painting terrain. Awesome. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like us and subscribe. What terrain are you actually painting? I'm curious. Always curious what people are painting. I know Q-Tex is 1973, or at least was working on Night Haunts. Doug Dog Z. Sorry, my street lingo is not all that great. Or not street lingo, but Leet lingo is not all that great. But he's working on Imperial Fist, so I'm curious what you're doing. Stuff I have built. Well, that is cool. That is awesome. Make sure, if you guys are working on stuff, feel free to go ahead and post in, let's see here. If you can't post in the FMP Wargamers Facebook page, jump over to the Atomic Gamer Society. That is where most of us are actually on, and we actually post a lot of our pieces on there. If you're a subscriber, or sorry, Patreon member, then you are in our elite chat. Jump on there and show us your wares, sir. So right now I'm just using lead belcher, trying to get all the metal pieces that I want to have painted, including this belt feed. I'm not going to paint right now this little wire. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with those, but I am going to get all these exposed areas of the gun that I have left gray. I need to paint, I think I'm going to paint these handles black. Once again, that helps break it up, but that little lever, the little firing lever right there, I'm going to go ahead and paint the metallic. Let's see, while I'm here on this side, I can see it. Get those grenade pins. Necessary? No, but it's one of those things I like to paint. Painting underneath here. Painting underneath the barrel. This is generally why I like to, or not the barrel, but under the gun here. Generally why I like to keep the weapon arms off. It's so much easier to paint underneath. And, you know, not a lot of people are going to really care about the underneath part, but this was something I kind of hinted on, not even hinted on, I pretty much stomped into the ground, or hit you guys over the head with, is if it comes down between you and another guy for painting, and he did not paint every part of the model, that even the spots that normally most people can't see, like underneath the cracks or underneath the barrel, and you did, and the judge has to go, you know what, you guys are both dead last, I got to find some reason to award one of you the medal or the win, and the only way they're going to do that is by looking at every little thing. And so painting underneath there is always a good idea. Don't skip painting areas. So I've had a painting contest when I worked at Games Workshop. Two fantastic painters that were in first place for the painting contest for vehicles. I've just painted over there. It's all right because that's black. I don't mind. I can go back over that with paint in a minute. Anyways, and I was having a real hard time, and I actually had to lift up both models and look at the undercarriage of both vehicles. And sure enough, one guy skipped on it, the other guy didn't. And the other guy was the guy that lost was a little dismayed, and he had said that something to the effect that Forge World's painting guide said, don't worry about that underpart. Well, yeah, for gaming, nobody's going to care about the underside of they don't care about the undercarriage of a Rhino, say, just as an example. Rhino is kind of like a personal transport. If you guys are not aware of that, it's kind of like a transport tank. Anyways, and sure enough, he's right. I had that same painting guide, but for a painting contest, when it comes down to crunching those numbers, you have to look for either the imperfections or the who went that extra mile. And the guy that went the extra mile, just by simply doing a base coat and some dry brushing, well, of course, some shading with the like Known Oil or whatever the color it was he used. He won because he went that extra mile. And yeah, those models, and this is, once again, you guys can see I'm kind of hard to show on the camera here. I'm doing my best. Painting underneath here is a pain in the butt. That's why I always try to, like I said, I try to leave the weapon arms off so I don't have to deal with that. Anyways, so I mean, it hurt having to, I mean, just, I understand the guy's anguish, or being upset over losing to the other guy. But I mean, they were literally neck and neck point wise, and I had to go with the better paint job, which in that case was looking for the imperfections. And the other guy that did not fully paint the model head to toe is the one that lost. It sucks because, man, they did both a really good job, but I had to have one winner. Sorry if I'm trailing off there. Okay, so it looks good. We're looking good. Let's see here. Just a little bit more lead belcher for this guy. We're gonna get take care of his little booties here, whatever they're called. These his little high heels. Because what kind of Marine does not like going into battle with high heels? Well, probably type of Space Marine that does not want to break their ankle, since these guys weigh in their armor around 900 some odd pounds. I think that armor, they weigh in at 790 pounds ish as unarmored, and then their armor is 180 kilograms on average. That's at least the Mark 7 armor was about that. I think since this is the Mark 10 Phobos armor, I think it weighs a little bit more. Especially since these are Primaris Marines, they're a little bit bigger, so we're capping out well over 1,000 pounds. I'm betting 1,500 pounds, and that is not something that you want to be prancing around with in high heels, or you don't want to be prancing around in high heels when you weigh 1,500 pounds, especially on a battlefield. And I don't care if you are a pretty princess, high heels in combat, weighing 1,500 pounds in power armor and these big old giant, probably like 100+ pound guns, not a smart idea. But these are not high heels, though I'm going to refer to them as high heels because my guys are pretty. They're pretty Marines. We're wearing a simple black and silver boots or high heels. They're not really high heels, guys. I'm just teasing here. It's whatever their little shock pads are for whenever they drop from orbit. But it's fun to say that they're high heels because my guys are pretty ballerinas. All right. So almost done. This is the last guy. Doing time-wise, it's 6:30. 6:30 already? Holy crap. Man, this time is flying. I need to really pick up the pace. Thankfully, though, I am not too far away from being done with these guys since I'm only doing 3. I'm glad I said I'm only going to do 3 for the video because I only have an hour and a half to paint. So I will be done here in about 33 minutes. So I will be making mistakes here with the lead belcher on the gun here. I don't care about getting a little bit over on the black because I need to, because I can touch up the black easily, and I will of course show the on Wednesday's show off the completed version of these. The reason why this hour and a half, or these guys are not, I'm not going to be able to get to 5 guys in an hour and a half, is A, they are bigger models. They got a lot more surface area that I'm having to go over than the Infiltrators. And today is the first day that I have painted Suppressors. So the process is a little long. What I should have done, I think, is taken time to, like I did on Monday, is do a test model. So I already knew how this flowed, but I wanted you guys to see this as a step-by-step process. All right, it looks like I got all the metal areas. I tried not to get too heavy with this. Oh, let's get some of these grenades. I didn't want to get too heavy with the paint because I need it to dry relatively fast. And thankfully, it's a little warm here in the studio today. So I don't, I'm hoping that warmth will help dry. And I mean, there's a fan going, but it feels like it's blowing out a little warm air, not very crisp, clean, cold air. All right, so while that is drying, I'm actually ready for the next part. This is another part besides the besides you going through and doing the base coats and maybe dry brushing, is the shade. So if you just want to go to a tier 1, or you're at tier 1, this is my tier 1. You're at tier 1, which is your, say, 3 base coats, base colors. But you're ready to go to the next level. You don't want to get too much involved, but you want it to pop a little bit more. And that's where you come in with these shades that Games Workshop produces. I haven't tried anybody else's. I've heard mixed results from the Army Painter, but I'm not going to try them out right now because I am going to go with a reliable color. I know Monument Hobbies has got a new one coming out, actually their first ones, and I'm going to be trying those when they come out. But I really like the Games Workshop shades, so I'm going with Seraphim Sepia. And you don't want to have too much on your brush, but you want enough. And as you see, I'm putting the shade down into the on the yellow on that chest symbol. And what that does, it's basically just watered down paint. Really nice watered down paint. I'm not sure exactly what the mixture is to water or perhaps a mixing medium, but it thins the paint down to almost a water-like consistency, and it flows over the model and settles into the recesses. Now, it will change the color on the surface, not just the recesses, but not dramatically. It's not a full-on paint. And why I like to use this is because it helps add depth and, well, shadows to the model, to the areas that I'm painting. And in this case, these pouches are kind of that worn yellow look. I'm going to go ahead and do it to this to these shoulder pads too. It kind of gives that worn leather look. Normally, I would go with a brown leather. It's generally my go-to with pouches and holsters and stuff. But in this case, since I was changing up the color scheme and I want to really make these models stand out compared to, say, other Red Scorpions, is I painted them that I wanted that yellow color. You've seen people with the yellow chaps or maybe a yellow leather purse, that sort of thing, or wallet, boots, whatever. And I mean, you wear it, that's what I'm kind of like doing, this wear and tear look on it by putting the Seraphim Sepia or Sepia, however you want to say it. If you're, I've heard it different ways. I say sepia. Basically it's a yellowing effect. Maybe you've played around with Photoshop and you've done filters and stuff on like Instagram or Snapchat or whatever. That's basically, if you've done the sepia one, kind of give it that old-fashioned look. That's what I'm going for. Not necessarily old-fashioned look, but I want it to have that kind of worn look. So I'm going to go back over this later and brighten it up. So in this case, you'll probably notice that I've kind of gotten a little sloppy with applying it. I don't care because it's not going to really stain that gray. And I can easily clean up that gray, especially in my cleanup stage next month, or my cleanup videos next month, when I'm going to go in and enhance them, add some, this gray is going to lose a lot of its what did I do? Dry brushing appearance as I go in and I blend in lighter grays, or just do straight edge highlighting. So all we're doing, playing Seraphim Sepia. Check chat. All right, we got a lot of people watching. Hey, if you're just now watching, or if you got a break, if you haven't already, jump on and hit like and subscribe. You can, of course, if you're not wanting to get hit with tons of, oh, we've got another video out and your inbox is getting overloaded, or you're getting tons of notifications, you can go in and adjust your notifications. But when you help people that are live streaming, it well, it helps. So just being a subscriber is very helpful for us. And if you're a Patreon supporter, that gets you several bonuses that you'll have to read about in the description. But really helps us get like microphones and stuff like that. All right, something I'm going to do right quick. If you didn't see it, that was pretty much me just kind of going over all the yellow. Try to be up close here. Letting I hit it with Seraphim Sepia, let it sit in the cracks. It kind of gives it that worn leather look. And then when I go back over it later with either a dry brush, which is very likely because I want it kind of that dry leather look, I don't want that wet leather look, it will pop even more because I did the paint as bright with the golden brown at first. So it's nice bright color but very flat. I added the Seraphim Sepia, which is a wash, which settled into the cracks and kind of stained that yellow to kind of give it a nicer, richer color, or sorry, golden brown. And when I dry brush over it or I layer over it, it will bring out the brighter colors, but the combination of the wash and the base paint and then the layering will create a very natural, nice 3D picture or 3D effect. All right, so that is drying, and it's time to tackle. We are going to go ahead and let's see, what time is it? 6:35. What else do I have to paint? Let's go ahead and these guys have purity seals all over the place. So we're going to go ahead and get the base coat for that, which for me, I like to use the bleached bone, or sorry, Ushbati. I'm probably butchering that name. Bone color from the Citadel. It's just a layer, and it's okay to use a layer as a base coat. Just be aware that over broader areas like these shoulder pads, I would have to put a couple thin layers to make it look right. It would look very streaky if I didn't. So I'm just going in and just putting that base coat down. And see, some people would be happy with, this is what I was talking about earlier, paying attention to that detail, is some people will just go ahead and paint this little strap right, or that little parchment right there and call it a day. And if it came down between you and another person, or between you and me, and you left it like that, and I went in there and painted the back end of that, the judge will probably swing my way in favor of voting for me because I took that extra step, went that extra mile or extra step, whatever, to paint my model and pay attention to all the nifty little details. So really pay attention when you're painting these models. Don't skimp on anything, man. You paint everything. Paint it all. I mean, obviously you're not, I mean, you don't have to paint everything, but if you apply color to something, make sure you get all around it. Get all the areas. Now this guy's got a little skull symbol right here on his shoulder pad. We're just going to kind of very, very gently out because it's a very tiny skull. We're going to go ahead and get that pop out. We're going to come over here, get this other patch. Or not patch, but purity seal. I look at purity seals as almost like to seal authenticity or something. It's like, or you know, maybe it's like a sticker on a pair of pants that you just got, and it's like, you know, it's the size sticker, or it's like, hey, look at me, I'm guaranteed fresh or whatever, and they're going into battle with these things. It does not make sense to me. So it's kind of irritating. I really hate these things. I got it. They want to show the purity, that their armor has been sanctified, whatnot, or maybe they've won some personal honors. But I'm applying some real world logic here. They don't go to battle with their medallions and doodads on there. Okay, so real quick, there's another one of those areas. So this right here is that purity seal again. I just painted. Touch up the areas there. Some people are going to be very tempted, and it's okay. If you don't care about an appearance or best painted contest or anything, skip over this part. But I can see that, because since it's a 3D image, a 3D model, there's an underside, and I can just see down through the cracks. I'm not sure if I'm going to, there we go. I'm just going to go down there, and I'm just going to dab. And that's where this crap brush, or this, not crap brush, but this brush that's falling apart comes in handy, because it's deteriorating. I don't care what's going to happen with it in the end. But it just went down there and dabbed in there and got the paint on it, just so you could see that I've painted it completely. Well, I've still got a little bit of that left. I'm going to get the log flesh, because I'm about to hit the Nuln Oil. But I need to do one more thing here. I'm going to add the log flesh to the bone to get kind of a light green color, because I want to kind of work on the texture, and I'm kind of going a half-ass job here of these grenades. I want to hit just the raised areas of those grenades, so when I do put the wash down, I can go back over it and kind of lighten that up and make it look a little bit more three-dimensional. Being a little hasty right now, because I'm coming up on time for the show to be over, and I want to make sure that you guys see the last little step. Well, let's see here. 6:41. We got just a few moments. So I've got two more areas I'm going to target right now. We're not going to mess with these shoulder pads, because I'm not exactly sure how they go, and I want to be accurate with it. So I'm about to hit the Nuln Oil on all the metal, and then I'm going to hit the red in the eyes and on all those purity symbols, or purity seals. So we're going to go ahead and grab Nuln Oil. It's the Citadel shade, and you're going to see, if you've never used it before or anything, it's a great way to add shadow and depth and really make your model stand out. For those of you that are sticking to the like two or three color minimum, or the 3 color minimum, black armor with a Nuln Oil wash is not 2 different colors. No, it's already been, so many judges are like, no, that doesn't count. It needs to be distinct colors. Yes, you can use primer black as a color, but if you're going to be using Nuln Oil, it's got to be over something that they can recognize. So good try, but don't do that. Okay, so we've got plenty of watchers here. Make sure you guys are hitting like. Thanks for listening to me rant. Wednesday this week at 8 o'clock will be part 5, and I will show these guys real quick. I'll just show you guys one of them, me touching them up, and then I'm going to be attacking the suppressors, or not suppressors, the eliminators. The eliminators are going to be really quick. I already kind of gauging them. They're going to be really quick to paint. So you're seeing me here using Nuln Oil, and I'm just slathering it on here. I don't care if I get over the black. It's not going to be a big deal. But you can already see the difference between the two different spots. You can start seeing all the little ridge lines, the little crevices of the metal. It really Nolan oil is like one of the best shades out there for you to be using, especially for weapons. It really makes a difference on your model, especially if you're just going to go for a 2 or 3 color minimum, and you slap that in there, and that model is going to look amazing. Now, what I will show you on Wednesday's show, before I get cracking on the eliminators, which are, like I said, going to be really, I think are going to be really easy to do. I will do kind of a half-assed camo on them. But what I will show you is doing the heat bloom or heat staining, whatever it will. You know how if you've never seen, or if you've ever seen, like when metal gets really hot afterwards, after it cools off, sometimes it'll have that stain at the end, the multicolored bit. I'm not sure what it's actually called. Somebody might be able to jump on chat and say, oh, John, that's blah, 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 when this oxidizes this, and etc., etc. Cool, and I appreciate that. If anybody does know that, pass it on to me, and then I can be a little bit more accurate in the future. Oop, a little too much there. You got to be a little careful. You don't want to have too much on your brush, because then it can kind of like drown out the model. I'm going to go ahead and put this Nolan oil in the on the faces, so I want that to pop. So that guy was, see, this is the fast part. This is kind of why I wanted to wait till the end. Let's go ahead and get the grenades too, because I'm going to come back in my cleanup stage and make those grenades pop. It's kind of hard to see, but now you can see all the little bumps. You'll see, I'll show you in just a second what it looks like without the wash, but you can see how that settles in there, and even those little tiny cracks, and really help that model stand out. All right, so kind of painting up that gun, or the belt feed here for the gun. Gun is really easy to do because it's so much area, just a little time consuming, but that's okay. That's why I waited till near the end. Now it's time to paint his high heels. Yes, I know they're not high heels, but my guys are pretty, so they're high heels. Now I might come back in, and this little connector, this little thing is connected to, which I imagine is just a part of this extra boot. I might paint that a little different in a cleanup series next month, but for right now, I don't care, because it's about getting paint on the model to a tier 2, really a tier 3 quality for me. Get back behind there. All right. So everything, oh, not everything is done yet. Need to get there. Need to get on this side of the handle and his little shooty grip. Gonna go ahead and get the barrel. Barrel's really easy to do. And like I said, the yes, Clint, you're late. That's all right. Make sure you like the video. So I'm almost done here, and I've got 13 minutes to slap on a couple more colors, and then these suppressors are basically done until I can figure out how to do the I need to double check the shoulder pads. I just found my Badab War series of books from Forge World with a plethora of lore about the Red Scorpions, and I'll be able to go in, I'll be able to see all sorts of different versions of their shoulder pads. So on the next show, you'll see, I'll go ahead and really quick, probably take me like 5 minutes, finish up these shoulder pads, and before I start on the suppressors, or the eliminators, as I just said, the eliminators are going to be really easy to do, because they've got their camo cloaks on, and not a lot of exposed areas that I have to worry about painting the ribbing or extra little doodads or whatnot. So all I'm doing right now is getting the Nolan oil on here. All right, get it underneath his little gun flappy thing right there. Finish up his high heels. Got a little too much on, but that's okay. Yes, I know that they're not high heels, once again, but my guys are pretty Marines, and they wear high heels into combat. Okay. Oh, so Difference there, see the grenades, you can barely make out the ridges. So after I put over those 2 layers of green, or yeah, 2 layers of green, and I just now put the Known Oil, it's still a little too dark to see, but those pop out a lot more. And then when I go back over with a lighter green, I'll do the individual dots or the little fragmentation parts on there, and you'll see those really pop out in that next series. I'm going to go ahead and paint the inside of his helmet there, because that Known Oil is going to settle in, and you'll be able to really see, once it dries, you'll be able to see that the skull face inside there, and it'll really help me paint the eyes later on. Okay, so those guys are, all that Known Oil is done. I've got 11 minutes. 11 minutes? Yes, 11 minutes. Clint arrived late, but that's all right. I don't expect people to be on live with me all the time, but I do appreciate when you guys get on. It's really, really cool to be able to interact with you guys and ask questions and whatnot. So something I'm going to do real quick. The Red Scorpions, despite having the red in their name, they tend to, their guys tend to have on their little ridges, or in this case, the little plumes on their helmets, it tends to be the same yellow. So I'm going to go through with these guys who all have this awesome looking helmet. I'm going to go through and just paint that yellow. It might not be dry in time before I have to get off the show, but that's okay, because you will see it on Wednesday's show. See the completed work. Today has really been a run through, instead of just me like last Monday where I just did a video of me showing, kind of doing a test run on one video. We did a test run on 3 suppressors at once. And 3 suppressors for the first time in an hour and a half. I would say, pat myself on the back, 'cause that's pretty gosh darn good in my opinion. I don't know about you all, but painting 3 big models in 45 or an hour and a half that you never painted before, and washed and layered, that's pretty good. And now, just like the Infiltrators, where I've had plenty of time to kind of, where I got used to how the paint goes on, now I'll be able to come back through these guys and paint them frighteningly fast. And I only have to do 12 total. So right now, I definitely have, I've got a lot of models done. I will probably, by this time next week, have approximately 57, I think 57 models done, if all goes well. Maybe a little bit more, because those eliminators are going to go by real quick, I think. I really suspect they will. So that'll put me at 57 models by Sunday. And I've got to the fall, I got basically a week from this Tuesday to get done with these guys. And I'm going to be spending about 2 days on backpacks and 2 to 3 days on, bases. Probably about 3 days on bases, depending on the direction I want to go. I'm not sure if the direction I started going with these suppressors, these custom bases, is the way I want to go. I might just cop out and get some designer bases from, or pre-molded bases from Games Workshop. Not sure yet. Not sell out, but you know, just whatever. All right, so I've got 7 minutes. Let's go ahead and get the red down, and this should finish up all the base coating, or finish up the models, except for the skull face, which, you know, I think that Known Oil is still going to be wet in there. We'll find out. I would be applying this red to the scorpion symbol, but I don't. Before I dabble with that, I'm going to hold off. Even though this is not a purity seal per se, I'm still going to stick to the theme of painting all those little symbols red. And I can see right behind there, get that red there. All right. Oh, forgot the red on the other shoulder pad. He's got so many freaking purity seals. He must be like really, really pure of heart, because we all know that Space Marines are pure hearted. Well, maybe not pure hearted. Let's say pure hatred of anything that is an enemy to mankind. But maybe that's why they wear these purity seals. It's because they hate everybody and they want to know that, hey, the reason why I got this little seal on my armor is to let you know I hate you and I'm really good at hating you. And that means you should be really, really scared of me, because I'm very hateful of enemies of mankind. That is, of course, if my Red Scorpions talk with a Southern accent or a Texan accent. I doubt it. But I could forge my own narrative. I don't care. This is the only one with the scope, so he is probably the squad sergeant. I'm missing a piece on him. They have a little grenade launcher that sits underneath the barrel. I'll have to figure that part out. Go ahead and slap on the red right here, so I can just keep to that theme of making all the purity seals red. So you guys seeing all that? That really pops out. All right, we got a heartbeat. So here's going to be where I'm going to be rotating this brush after I use it. Simply, I'm going to get some paint on my brush here, just a little bit. I don't need a lot because I'm going to be attacking the eyes. Actually, I'm going to go back to my first model. And I'll do very carefully. It's going to be very careful. I'm going to try to get as close as possible. And if I go over a little bit over, that's okay, because it's hard to do this with the camera in my face. All right, cool. I got the red in there. A little too much, but that's all right. Little red inside their visor. Cool. Now I'm going to literally rotate my brush in my hand, grab my next model, and I'm going to do that process again. Now I will come back in later, clean up those eyes, brighten out that white that I hit with too much red and too much known oil. Remember to also do those strokes, clean, precise strokes. Don't get all jittery. Just be sure about your strokes and go in and just hit the spot and come out. Try not to have too much tension in your body, as I said earlier. So coming back, do the eyes. I'm hoping, yep. So eyeball, rotate, model, rotate brush. Alright, got a little sloppy there, got some on there, but they all have red eyes right now, at least the basis for the red eyes. Because then later on, which you'll see on Wednesday, you'll see me clean up those eyes. I'm going to double check the yellow, because if some of these yellows are dry, which they all look like except for this one, on those plumes, yeah, I got just a second here. Just a second or two, or a couple, 3 minutes. 3 minutes is enough time for me to grab my handy dandy brush that I've brutalized, this poor small base brush. And by brutalized is that it's now got a bent tip that can be easily avoided whenever you do a couple brush strokes. Rotate the brush 90 degrees, 180 degrees, whatever. Do the brush strokes again. Keep rotating that brush as you paint. Clean off your brush, rinse and repeat the whole process. That will either completely eliminate or reduce the chance of that brush getting that little hook at the end. That is not a good thing. Also, when you are cleaning your brushes, do not leave your brushes sitting down inside your paint pot. Clint. That ruins your brushes. Also, when you clean your brushes, do not twist those. I learned that from Ski and Jason and Jen, or Ski from FMP, but Jen and Jason from the Slow Fuse Gaming. That puts wear and tear on those brushes, and they will break. And then you start getting that fraying, and you just pretty much just spent money on a brush that is going to be worthless in the end. So be very careful with cleaning your brushes. You've taken time to watch videos like this on how to paint. Take some time to see like a 1.5 minute long video that shows you how to care for your brushes. All right, everything else is still wet, but at the end of the day, we have 3 base coated, prime, base coated, shaded, some highlights of 3 suppressors. Hour and a half, 3 suppressors, first day, never painted them before, and we've got them to a low, for me, low tier 2 status, but I've got them painted. The backpacks will take a heartbeat. Pretty simple. So next Wednesday, make sure or this coming Wednesday, watch the show. I will show you, I'll have probably 6 of these guys totally done by then, and I will show you the shoulder pads once I've got that worked out. I'm not worried about the bases right now, and I'll finish up the helmets so you guys can see what this looks like at the end of the day. I'm still averaging about an hour and a half per 5 models. If I take into account a couple of factors like the first day painting and painting these guys and whatnot. So that's a good thing. That means I'm well on track, and I should have another 30 guys done. Well, I'll be at 57 guys by Monday, or next Sunday, maybe even more. So the only thing I should have left, if I can really pick up the tempo, is have all the basic guys done, and then my 5 characters. My 5 characters I will do next week on top of the basing, and or near the end of the week. So by next Sunday's show, I'll just be doing the 5 characters and start the basing. All right. That's all I got for the show. Thank you for watching and listening and putting up with me rambling. Hopefully you learned some things, or maybe you were just listening for motivation so you could paint at the same time. And hopefully I started a hashtag for high heels Space Marines. That would be kind of cool. If not, that's all right. I will see you guys Wednesday. I'll see you guys Tuesday on our regular weekly show where we chit-chat about everything. And we give you rumors, leaks, talk about past events like the Dallas GT that just happened. Just kind of general banter about the hobby itself. Wednesday is definitely a show where I'm going to be doing the suppressors. I might do a Monday or early Tuesday show. I'm going to try to do maybe once every other day. A show where I'm just kind of working on these. Not going to chit chat or really be walking you through too much step by step. It's just to show you the progress that I'm doing on the models, and give you something to listen to while you're painting and building. All right. Thank you again for watching. Make sure you like, you subscribe, and please consider being a Patreon supporter. Lots of little benefits. Go to the Patreon link and you'll see the different, or you can read about the benefits and such. If you're on Twitch right now, in May, I'll be conversing and interacting with you guys exclusively on Twitch. But if you just like watching us on YouTube, it will still be streaming to YouTube. I just got a whole new layout. Everything is going to be really cool for Twitch, and I'm just kind of waiting until next month to show that off and everything. Pass the word about FMP Wargamers and my little show here, especially if you know people are struggling with painting. I can interact with you guys and walk you through some steps. I'm not a Picasso, but I can definitely, I've got 30 years experience doing this. And so I know bad techniques, I know good techniques, I know fast techniques, and I might not be able to get you to win an award, but I can get you I can help you get your models painted. So thanks for supporting. Check chat real quick. Thanks Black Tower Terrain, Clint and Doug Z and Clint, who is late, but that's okay. I will see you guys Wednesday at the very least. I might be on tomorrow. I'm not sure. It might be just like a weird middle of the day stream just because. All right. I will talk to you guys later. Thanks a lot.